Hey mathematicians, how are you? This is the second tutorial working through Pearson, and this time we're looking at Pearson Math 8, and we're using Excel to help with calculating statistics. So this one is on page 560 of Pearson Math 8. So Lacey, an enthusiastic netballer, is very keen to improve her goal shooting skills in netball. Her coach suggests that she should keep a record of her weekly performance. The following data represents the number of goals that Lacey scores each week during the first 20 weeks of the netball season. So here's all the data. Lacey's coach reminds Lacey that statistics could help her to understand and use the data. And Lacey thinks that mean, mode, median, and range could be useful as measures of center and spread. Her coach suggests she uses a spreadsheet. So we're going to enter the results and we can use the formulas in order to calculate it. So what I'll do first of all is I will essentially copy what's down here, even though this is quite small. So I'm going to do a bit of labeling here. So I'm going to write the week down, and Lacey had 20 weeks. So we'll just go 1 to 20. Now, if you do this, you should be able to go down and it will finish it off for you. So Excel can figure out that I'm writing numbers in order. So in order to do that, if you didn't see what I just did, once you get a bit of a pattern going, you get the corner, highlight, and you pull it down, let it go, and it will finish it off for you, okay? Now, what did I do there? Didn't quite get to 20. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to put the number of goals that she scored down. So week 1, she scored 9 goals. So I'm just reading down here, going from left to right. So we've got 12, 8, 17, 10, 9, 18, 13, 15, 9, 10, 15, 8, 10, 19, 14, 16, 19 goals, and 8 goals. Now, the next thing I'll do is probably save this spreadsheet. Actually, I already have saved it, so we'll just make sure we save it. We don't want to lose anything. Okay, so now we are going to calculate the mean, the mode, the median, the maximum, minimum, and the range. And we're going to use the formulas in Excel to do that. Okay, so you can do this 2 ways. You can insert the function, or you can simply type it in. So I'll show you both ways. So I want to put the mean here, the mode here, etc. So what I can do is I can go to formulas up the top in the ribbon and go insert function. And I will insert the mean. And that should be, it might be there, but we might have to search for it. So the mean. Okay. Now in Excel, it's actually called average, not mean. Because a traditional average is what the mean is referred to. So it's called average in Excel. So I'll insert that. And I want to get my numbers. Now there's 2 ways I can do this. I can highlight them, and then that will automatically put it in. Or I can look up the cell and I can go B2, which is where it starts, and then it ends at B21. But I think this is a good visual indicator of how it's going. So press OK, and that will be calculated for me. Now I can go to the home button, and I can round that off using these buttons up here. So I can round up or round down. And I might just want to round off to 1 decimal place for this, because basically 12.5 goals, to me that's pretty good. So if she scored 12 goals, that's less than her average. If she scored 13, that's more than her average. I think because it's right in the middle of 12 and 13, I think it's actually good to leave it as 0.5 there. So mode, I'm just going to go back to my formulas, insert function. I'll find mode, grab that. Now it should be mode single, because we want the single most commonly referring number. And then I have all this again, and that means 9 is the most common score. So 9 pops up 1, 2, 3 times in the data set. Median, I'll insert median, and that's already there because I used it previously. And see, the range that pops up is wrong, so you have to fix it. So B2 to B21. And then it's got my median, so that's my middle number there. And the maximum, I'll insert max, and I'll get these numbers again. So the highest number of goals was 19. The minimum, I'll just search for that, min, and I'll get my range again. So that's 8. And then the range, you have to manually make a formula. So press equals, the maximum, so click the cell that the maximum number is in. Don't write 19, just click the cell, because that will give you the actual value in the cell all the time, even if it changes. Take away, so just press the negative button or the subtract button or the little minus button on your keyboard, that one, and then you've got the range. Okay, so that was using Excel in order to support us with calculating measures of center and spread. So that's mean, median, mode, and range for this data set. Now I'm just going to look, is there any more to the actual task? Okay, there is actually a bit more to this one, so I've just put it on the side here, and I have to put this on the side of my screen, so I'm not looking directly at the camera, so I apologize for that. Okay, so we'll keep going here. So Lacey would like to see how our season looks on a graph. The spreadsheet can be used to plot graphs of goals against weeks. Select the goals column of the values, B1 to B21. So I'll just grab all this. To create a column graph in Excel, under the Insert tab, select Column. So I'll need to put this down a little bit. Yep. So Insert, and I'll go Column. Now the column, you should highlight, it says it's Insert Column or Bar Chart. So you can see the kind of column graphs there. This one is a statistic chart, a tiny bit different. So essentially this is what I would be looking at here. So this one, and 2D column. So you can see 2D column here and a clustered column. So you can, when you hover over them, you can see what kind of graph you got. So I'm going to get a clustered column. Okay. So click that. Now you didn't see it, but it automatically appeared. Okay. And I can make that a bit bigger. Now the chart design, you can go to chart tools and you can go to layout. So it automatically goes chart design. And you can change the layout options of this. So you can kind of play around with how it looks. Okay. I'm pretty happy with the original version that it had here. You can change the colors as well. So you can make something a bit more to your liking, I guess. For me, if you go down here, you can change, I like a dark background better. I think that just makes it look a bit better. And you can also click to format the titles, the axes titles appropriately. So I can change the title of this to Goals in First 20 Weeks. And I can add other elements as well. So I want to add axes titles horizontal, add chart element axes titles vertical. So there, I can essentially put my numbers there. So down the bottom is the number of weeks. So week 1, week 2, week 3. So I'll just put week. And this is going to be number of goals. Okay. And it has this series 1. That just kind of automatically pops up because if you've got different data that you're comparing, so just say you had, I don't know, you were comparing 2 netballers. So you had one netballer and then a second netballer in a different color and the bars were side by side, then you could change the series 1 to the name of the first netballer and then the name of the second netballer. But we're only charting one person, so it might not be relevant, although we could just change it to, what's her name? Question. You can maybe change it to her name, but I'm just going to delete it, I think. Okay. So we've done that. So question 3. In the last 4 weeks of the season, she scores 17, 15, 18, 11, and 18 goals. Add this data to your spreadsheet and recalculate the statistics for the complete 24-week season using your graph and the summary statistics. How does the new data affect the summary statistics? Did Lacey improve in the last 4 weeks of the season? Okay. So there's a couple of ways that we can go about this. Now, first of all, what I would probably do is I would make a second spreadsheet, to be honest, or another tab. So what I've got down here, sorry, just going to move this down. You can see down the bottom here that this is the tabs column. So you can make a new tab in a spreadsheet. So that's the first tab, and the second tab has nothing in it. Now I can change this to first 20 weeks, and then the second tab I'm just right clicking, and then double clicking, and I'm going to do first 24 weeks. Now what I should be able to do is completely copy this, Control C, and paste on here. Okay, so I've pasted that, and I'm not going to do the graph. So what I'll do now is add those next 4 weeks, 24, and the scores are 17, 15, 11, and 18. 17, 15, 11, 18. Now the next thing I need to do is change all of my formulas. Okay, now my formulas, the range is different. So I'm going to get the mean formula, and I'm just going to make it this instead. So instead of B2 to B1, I'm going to change it B2 to B25. So I can do that just by dragging that down and pressing enter. This one, same deal. Or I could write in 24. Okay. 24 and 24. Oh, sorry, it's 25, not 24, isn't it? Whoops. Yep. 25, 25, and then that needs to be the same. Okay, so how has it changed? So now I can go back and forth. So what's different? The mean has increased from 12.5 to 13.0. So her mean score is improving if you're including those last 4 weeks. So that means she's getting slightly better. The mode is the same. The median, 12.5 to 13, just another measure that she's getting better because her center, which is the middle, is getting better based on both the mean and the median. Her range is the same. So the scores that were included, she didn't exceed her maximum score of 19, so she didn't set a new best score for goals, and she didn't have a game that was lower than her worst score of 8, so that range remains unchanged. And we should be able to see that pretty effectively in a graph. So let's go insert, column, 2D column. Oh, sorry, whoops, I didn't highlight the data, did I? So highlight the data, insert, column, this one, get that, get the same style, and then we'll change the title, first 24 weeks, and then we'll add chart elements, horizontal and vertical. So this was number of goals, and this was weeks. Now that I've got the exact same thing as the first one, I should just be able to go back and forth and see here. Then let's look at the last 4 weeks, and we can see a visual indicator. I'm looking at this block here, 1, 2, and if I want to, I should be able to change the color of that, maybe. Let's just do that just to make it stand out. No, maybe not. Maybe that's for the whole thing. Thought maybe I could change an individual color. There we go, look at that. Okay, right click, fill, orange, right click, orange. And while I'm doing this, I just want to make those last 4 weeks stand out. So is she doing better those last 4 weeks on average? I think so, because you can see that these 3 kind of columns here are on average higher than the majority of the other columns, okay? There's only maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks in the first 20 that were comparable to those 3 of the last 4 weeks. So 75% of those last 4 weeks is equivalent to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 out of 20, that's 25%. So essentially, 25% of the time she was scoring super high, compared to 75% of the last 3. Okay, so she's getting better. This one wasn't as good, this result, but these 3 results out of the 4 were quite good. So that gives us some stuff to write for that question there. Okay. So from week 10 onwards, Lacey tried some new training techniques, recalculate the summary statistics and the graph for the last 10 weeks of the season. Using your graph and the summary statistics, comment on whether you think the new training techniques are effective. Okay, so what can we do now? Let's do another sheet and we'll name it again. Whoops, you can't see that, can you? We'll go last 10 weeks. And then we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to copy. Actually, I'll do that, sorry. Paste. And now I'm going to go through here and I'm going to change my range from, so the last 10 weeks. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's B16 to B25. Okay. And I can just copy that if I want. And then now, whoops, don't do what I just did then. You have to press enter first. And then I can just go highlight the relevant section and click paste. Highlight the relevant section and click paste. So I'm only including the last 10 weeks. Highlight the relevant section and click paste. Highlight the relevant section, click paste. Yep. And there's a little exclamation mark and it's saying that you're omitting adjacent cells. So what that means is it can kind of see that you're not including all the numbers, but we want to do that on purpose, okay? So what do we see now? Let's make another graph. Actually, I think a good way to do this is literally do what we just did last time. So we'll get all of the data and we'll insert the column. Again, change it, make it the darker one. Last 10 weeks, actually, training changes. Number of goals. And this is the week. And I think we can highlight, now maybe we can do, I should have done this last time, I think. We should be able to select more than one. I'm trying to select more than one bar here too. Doesn't like it. Okay. Alright, slightly frustrating, but that's okay. So I'm going to right click it and fill orange, and I'll do that a number of times, which is a bit tedious. Now, you don't have to do this, but for me, it just really contrasts the difference here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm not sure what's going on. Sorry, guys. It keeps flickering away from me. Okay, cool. So I got my last 10 weeks there. Alright, so let's have a look if the new training techniques are effective. So let's go back. Let's look at the mean value. So first 20 weeks, 12.5. Move that down a bit again. Second 20 weeks, including the remaining 4 weeks, 13. The last 10 weeks only when the training techniques were changed up, 14.7. So that measure of center, her mean is improving. The mode, the most frequent value, has changed from 9 to 19. So you're cutting out a few of the bad scores, and then all of a sudden 19 is the most frequent value. The median has increased from 13 and 12.5 to 15.5, so that's a pretty significant increase. And the range has improved as well, although we had an 8 in there too, but that doesn't matter too much. So for me, she's definitely improving, and the graph gives you that visual indicator as well. So there's a lot of higher scores there compared to this blue, which is under the original training regime. So I think that's a good way to use data to state that someone's getting better. All right, so taking it further, Lacey decided she would like to produce a frequency graph using the season statistics. To do this, the frequency data needs to be listed in the spreadsheet. Label a new column number of goals and use this column to list the number of different numbers of goals scored in order from 8 to 19 as shown. Label the column frequency and use the column to list the frequency of your number of goals values, that is, the number of times that each number of goals appears. Okay, so what this means is, we'll make a new column. So we'll go number of goals and we'll go frequency. Okay, so essentially we need to get the numbers that are scored throughout. So 8 was the lowest, so we'll start there, and the highest is 19. So we're just going to go 8, 9, 10, 11, and hopefully Excel should figure out what we're trying to do by now, and we'll go up to 18. Now the frequency is how often that appears. So how many times does the number 8 appear? So 1, 2, 8. So there's the number of goals. 8 has a frequency of 2. And if you want, just to have a bit of a visual that we're kind of marking that off, we'll just fill it up like that. So 9, we've got 1, 2, 3 nines. So 9 has a frequency of 3. 10s, 1, 2, 3, 3. 11 has 1. 12 has 1. Actually, did I miss an 8? I did. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. There's 3 8s. Okay. So that's why it's good to highlight, because sometimes you miss stuff. 12 has 1. 1. 13 has 1, 2, 3. 3 13s. 14 has 1. 15, 1, 2. 16 has 1. 17 has 1, 2. 18 has 1, 2. And 19, which I missed, has 2 as well. Okay. Alright, so we've got that there. So the frequency can be found using the formula count if, which will count the number of cells from B2 to B5 that are the same as cell C2. Because cell C2 is the number 8, this will count the number of times that 8 goals appears in the column frequency. So what I just did there was useless. We could legitimately do the same thing using a formula. So I'm just going to, everything I just did was a complete waste of time, because I can use the formula equals count if and have a range of here and whoops, sorry. So $sign to be $25, comma C2. Okay. All right. Okay, so I realized what I've done wrong. So the formula that I did is the same as what's written here. So B $2 to B $25, comma F2. So what that says is this is the range it's looking at, or sorry, this is the data that it's scanning, and it wants to find how many values are the same as what's in this cell here, which is F2, the one that's highlighted. So it's different because I put the number of goals in a new column here, whereas it was in a different column. They've got it in the C column. I've got it in the F column. So that frequency was there. Now what I can do is drag it down, and that's going to change, and you can click on the formula to see. So it's always going to use the same data set, but it's going to change the value that it's comparing to. So here it's looking for the number 9, which is what's in the red box here, and there's 3 number 9s. So what you end up with is the same information that I just did, but the power of a formula, it did it a lot faster. Okay, so now you can produce a frequency graph in the same way as before, by this time selecting the frequency column of data, and I will insert a graph again, and we'll do the same thing. Okay, cool. So this time, the horizontal axis is the number of goals. So I will change this again. And this is number of goals. I'll add titles. So this time the y-axis is frequency, which is how often it was scored. And this is the number of Okay, I paused then because I can see that this is wrong, because the number of goals, which is on the bottom, should be 8 to 19, but it's gone 1 to 12. So basically there was no data that it was looking for. So what I can do here is I can go right click. I can go, right click and go select data. So the horizontal category, I can edit that. So horizontal is going down the bottom like this. Edit. What's the range of the data? I'll grab these numbers here, and that should change down the bottom, and it did. So it starts from 8 to 19 goals, which is what I had. Okay, awesome. So what does this graph tell you about Lacey's performance throughout the season? So it tells us that the most frequent goal tallies are 8, 9, and 10. So she more frequently gets goals on the lower end, but she's also got 2 games where she's got 17, 18, 19 goals on the higher end as well. So to me, the distribution seems to be a little bit on the lower end and the higher end, and not as often in the middle. So really, she seems to be quite inconsistent. So she has either quite good games or quite, I guess, poor games when you compare with the possibilities of games that she can have. There's obviously some data in the middle where she's getting 13 goals a few times, but that gives you a bit of info. So you can compare graphs. You can look at this graph versus this graph that we made before, and you can say which one gives you more information, and also which statistics give you the most information. Okay. And the last few questions are about which stats give you the most information, and do you think a spreadsheet could help her improve her game? So what's the point of doing this and applying that to improvement? Okay guys, thanks very much for watching this tutorial. I know it was a long one. Thanks very much. See you next time.